Alrighty, good morning everybody. It is Thursday, December 7th, 2023, and we are back in another day of Groundhog's Day. Nothing has changed. We are still in the same situation we've been in for about 14 days now. They are obviously bringing us to slightly higher lows, slightly higher highs here in this channel. But look at where we are right now. We just bounced right back into the middle of this 14-day range. So, what can we say? The pre-market's going to be pretty quick this morning. The review from yesterday, what can you say? It was a really nice, healthy sell-off, but for the whole morning, we were still chopping right around the middle of this range. So, it wasn't my ideal type of market to trade, but let's go ahead and take a look at what happened here yesterday on the 512. Scroll back to the open. Now, we talked about what happened here in the webinar yesterday, at least briefly. So we opened, again, anyone's guess what direction was going to win out, and as the market opened, we did start to fail back down below the 200, right? So it started to trend back down to 50% of the previous day, which was, right around all the chop for the last 12, 13 days. So I wasn't interested in trading in here, but if you look, what ended up happening, it was a very clear picture once we started to fail off the 200 here about an hour, hour and a half after the open, maybe 2 hours after the open. So we failed. Interestingly enough, we held the back end of the 200, right? They had to do this and pop it up and probably take a bunch of people who were short out here and then bring it exactly where everyone expected it to go, right? So they came down, they held Hopel. So if you bought Hopel, you got maybe a point of risk, point and a half of risk. You could have caught a 5-point bounce. I think we bounced about 6, 7, 8 points. In fact, it would have been smart to take profit right at the scaffolding where we had trouble for a little bit there. But then it failed, and that was kind of like a peak above and fail type of scenario above one of our lines in the sand here. And then it failed and bounced right at 50% of the previous week, but could not get through the 200 on the way back up. And it was a big battle here for a really long time. If you would have shorted the 200 here, never went maybe more than a point against your short position, and then that would have been it. And if you missed out here, you probably could have grabbed this right here. This would have been a really, really sexy opportunity here as the market continued to fail and push to lower lows and hold below our moving averages. So there was opportunity yesterday if you were looking for stuff. The main thing that you should have taken from the market is that we were pushing through all the potential supports and getting below our main moving averages on the short time frames. And so you should have been orienting yourself for the bearish side of things. The other interesting thing to note here out of the open here in the morning is that we created support right here. And then once they got down below it, notice we've got the 200, we've got that previous support, and we've got a nice 38 to 50% retracement, nearly to the tick. So it was a great opportunity to get short there. But again, we were pulling back into the middle of 12 days of chop. So I wasn't interested in trading. I didn't trade when the market started to come back down here, but that probably would have been the smartest thing to do. And again, if you missed it, you got a decent opportunity here right off the 200 again. Interestingly enough, we came down and held 50% of the day before here. Again, just a couple ticks below, but we held and then parried back and forth between the two roadmap levels and then came down to our scaffolding. And this was now a couple hours into the day. We bounced right off our scaffolding. So if you look in terms of these levels, again, we're holding 50% of the previous week. Then we're holding 50% of the previous day, holding the back end of that level, which was now our new support area. And then we got down and we bounced off the scaffolding, right? And if you look at it from the other side, we held the back end of the scaffolding. We held basically the Hopel there. We were one tick away. And then we got down through the next roadmap level, which was 45.80. Tagged that one. Then we got down through the 50%. Came back, tagged that one. It's, you know what I mean? Unbelievable stuff. Now, it did come down and then tag the back end of the 50, but then look what we came and contended with the next roadmap level. And then it bounced from there and came up to the close. Still, and this is unbelievable stuff, still came to the next roadmap level, the close of the day before, right? Stair-stepping one by one off the back end of these, came down, and that was the beginning of the breakdown, right? To come back down and test the low of the day before there. So there was lots of opportunity. If you just shorted the back end of each roadmap level on the way down, you would have missed out at the hopeful, but you would have gotten in literally short here from 90, short here from 80, short here from 76, short here from 70, and then when that failed, this was technically the next one, short from 73, you would have had a really easy day. But again, I'm not claiming I did. I didn't trade when the market came back down into this pocket, so is what it is, right? You don't have to trade every day. So that brings us here to the end of the day. Finally coming back to breach just below the low of the day before there, right? So it's just been one of those stories where we push to the top of the range, the market opens, we push to the bottom of the range, and now here we are at the bottom of the range coming into this morning, and now we're pushing back to the middle of the range. So maybe this is the beginning of the next push to the top of the range again. You know, who knows? We're dealing with this right now. Let's give you some context. This is 14, 15 days, right? And we're pushing right back up into the middle of the whole thing. So it's anyone's guess here who's going to win out. We have a lot of great bearish stuff from last week's high that we were expecting to kind of lead a larger breakdown, at least to come down and test 40 to 43, but hasn't happened yet. So that's basically it. Overnight session, we're getting a nice rally higher. And as you can see, all throughout the overnight session, that close was the key, right? Trouble right out of the open with the 200 right there. Trouble a second time, trouble a third time, and then finally they got back through it, pulled back, and now we're bouncing to this new high. Okay. Still could have played the back end of the VWAP as this was failing last night. All in here, this was probably too messy to even do anything because we only went 2 points away and came back. I'm not looking for that. But once it started to fail down through, we were below in this orientation, and they came back to this VWAP with such an extreme divergence. Should have been a great play, right? But it didn't go anywhere, so you would have maybe got 2-3 points out of it, and then it came back. So that brings us here into our pre-market for this morning. Seems to be a pretty strong rally right now. So let's go up to our higher time frames.